Lal Goyal, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, Malnadu TV, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Organ Donation India Foundation, and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you the impact of COVID-19 on many subjects and sectors. And today we are going to do our program is on impact on law and order, COVID-19 impact on law and order. Law and order is a situation in which the laws of a country are being obeyed, especially when the police or army are used to make certain of this. Police and law and order are state subjects under the 7th schedule to the Constitution of India. And therefore, it is the primary duty of the state governments to prevent, detect, register, and investigate crime and prosecute the criminals. Indian law is enforced by a number of agencies. Like many federal nations, the Constitution of India delegates the maintenance of law and order primarily to the states and territories. At the federal level, some of India's paramilitary forces are part of the Ministry of Home Affairs and support the states. The Central Reserve Police Force, CRPF, main objective is to assist states and union territories law enforcement agencies in maintaining law and order and containing insurgency. Each state and union territory has a state police force headed by a director general of police, which is responsible for maintaining law and order in the state's townships and rural areas. COVID-19 has turned the world upside down. There is hardly any aspect of our life that has been left untouched by the pandemic. In a society struck by deadly virus, strict maintenance of public order is most essential. Only then can those affected by the disease be looked after and given the best medical care. Law enforcement is therefore next only to healthcare in its criticality. The police have taken enormous risks during the lockdown to ensure strict observance of guidelines, including physical distancing, which in India is among the most difficult rules to enforce. Police persons need to be commended for their hard work and restraint instead of being chastened as a force for the overzealousness and indiscrimination of a few of them. How will COVID-19 affect future law enforcement, and how will new patterns of crime be managed, especially given that the virus is here to stay for a long time? Apart from policymakers, the police leadership will have to introspect on its recent experience and draft a comprehensive standard operating procedure that will educate all police persons in the country. This will take care of future virus waves, if any. Due to COVID, some understandable and angry outbursts of migrant laborers standard in the economic centers have created volcanic situation that was a serious law and order problem in the country. But due to the tactful approach of Indian police, law and order situation was more or less remained under control. So today we are going to discuss COVID-19 impact on law and order. And we have a very elite panel with us. I would like to introduce the first guest of us. He is Mr. Ajit Kulshrestha. Mr. Kulshrestha is the former Additional Director General of CRPF. He did his BSc in Biology and Masters in Economics from KR College, Mathura in 1974. He joined the ISA, Internal Security Academy at Mount Abu in 1976. He is currently pursuing legal practice as an advocate in Supreme Court of India. He has served in Mizoram, Assam, Manipur, Tripura, Meghalaya, Kashmir Valley, Punjab, Odisha, West Bengal at various ranks and successfully completed challenging assignments in extremely difficult and hostile terrain and weather, fighting terrorists, militants, and outlaws, besides many important policing duties. He twice survived attempt on his life in ambush and bomb blast and successfully neutralized attackers, for which he was awarded Parakram Medal and Police Difficult Duty Service Medal. A well-trained police commando, he also served as a black cat in NSG, National Security Guards, on deputation for more than 4 years, spanning 92 to 1996. Mr. Ajit is also the lucky few to be the chief of Rapid Action Force RAF, which is the specialized riot control police of India. As head of RAF, creation of RAPO, RAF Academy of Public Order Management, was his dream project and brainchild, which has now come up in Meerut, UP. With 38 years of successful career in Central Police Organization, he has been awarded with Parakram Medal, Police Special Duty Medal, Internal Security Medal, 50 years of Independence Medal, Police Meritorious Service, and President's Police Medal for Distinguished Services, which is the highest police medal, besides many commendations and this of the DGs. Uh, Welcome, Mr. Ajit Kulshrestha on our show. Uh, Now, Mr. Kulshrestha, being the former additional director of the CRPF, we would like to know from you the COVID-19 impact on law and order. Mr. Ajit Kulshrestha, please.
Thank you, Mr. Lal Goel, for giving me this opportunity. And today is a special day. I greet everybody on this Eid Mubarak to everyone, whosoever is there, and pray Almighty for the peace to come. This subject, interestingly, firstly, I would like to congratulate you for being the person who has thought before others could think about. Once you told me about the topic, I searched around, spoke to my friends in DPR&D and Crime Research Bureau. I said, do you have done some studies? Do you have some data? They say, no, someday somebody will be doing it. We have not done it. So congratulations, Mr. Lal, for starting it. It's something which will give some clues and some motivation to the people who are in this job to analyze things, take the data, and take the best out of it. My first thing, the corona, which has done something which I always felt the pinch of, was the image of the police. The best thing corona has done, it has woken us up. You said it has put the whole organization, everything ups and down, but it's also having some hidden directions, divine directions, which has come when we are facing this challenge. Is this: the police has come with an absolutely good human face and in the crisis, and has really, it's a turning point, and I wish it goes on like that. The corona was something which we knew something is dangerous, but it will come to us. Probably we were little ready, but not prepared. And the way it has come, it has really made the government machinery to really work very, very hard, and they have responded well. Of course, I feel there is a deficiency of some organization which should be there. We may cover it up in the other part of it, that we think the police, which is meant for normal law and order duties, crime investigation, some organization and the forces, like we have the disaster management force to deal with the disaster of this magnitude and the area. And it was something we were not prepared, and it requires a lot of courage to have some forces like this. So we will have this clue, something from like that to happen, and we should be ready with that. As far as the crime is concerned, interestingly, the crime which was an opportunity crime, petty crimes in the trains, the traffic, in the buses, pickpocketing, snatching, the small thefts, has definitely disappeared because many people had to leave the place. The occasions are not there. The crowd is not there. The crowd, the crime which was happening around in the crowded and rushy areas and rush hours has definitely come down. New type of crime and corruption might have also emerged. People are now trying to track it down. Bigger crimes one thing which I think we can ponder upon was that there is some little bit of heightened response and reaction collectively. People are losing a little bit of that. Uh, on small issues, there are protests. People are forgetting it is a corona era and they have to take care. They do. They forget about it. The distress, they are not able to manage it. We have seen a lot of people leaving the cities and going back to their villages because they were not having total trust or losing the hopes on their future. So these are the things which are directly or indirectly affecting the crime. I have not been able to collect the data, but as far as the number of crime is concerned, it has definitely come down. Though police was engaged in many more things which were very difficult for them. They have taken the risk, and I pay my tribute to those police officers who have sacrificed their life for the cause of this. Even civil police, of course, they were very close to the public. Even organization, the Central Armed Police Forces, you said it is paramilitary. I would like to insist that we should call it Central Police Organization. We heard it for so many years and always wanted. Now it's happening around. It will take time that everybody will start calling it Central Police Organization or Armed Police Forces. We have lost also some people, and it is still there because they were exposed without much of preparation. They were just like they are trained to go immediately take action. They took the precautions which were required. Was then possible. It was not possible, and it is now. Once ever they are doing duties, they also need this type of protected gears. We had been running around for body protector. Now we need to have some. One thing I like to, we were not caught unaware, or because I was the chief of Rapid Action Force, and we had one disaster management element, which has now come out as a full-fledged baby, now grown well. The disaster management, the RAF being the fastest responding force, the first force to respond and help the police, the RAF was there, and we had been teaching our officers on biological warfare and chemical and atomic warfare. This was introduction, and we were prepared to respond at the initial stage without having second line of the defense against these things. So this is where I believe that we were prepared, but we never had the size of that second line of defense at this time. So these are my inputs, and I hope it will be enough to start the debate on these things.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ajit Kulshrestha, for giving the details. As you have mentioned that you wanted some data and the details about the COVID-19 impact on law and order, but you found that still people are, because all are in field, they could not started doing the data collection, or it was not been made available to you. But you are sure that that very soon it will be there, so that police force can analyze and see how they can improve their services more. You have also mentioned that the image of the police have gone up like anything. Yes, there are data that earlier only 29 some percentage people were liking the police force. Now it is about 70% who appreciate the working of police force. And I'm sure the day will not far when we will say that 100% everybody will like about the police and their behavior. Now, you have also mentioned that the crime has gone down, the petty crime which were been taking place during the crowded places, and like pickpocketing and many more things. But you said that it is unfortunate that few people are coming out in the street, coming with the protest, etc. They are forgetting there is lots big, very big problem. We should understand. We have to face jointly. And you have also objected for me calling as a paramilitary force. You wanted that it should be called as a armed police force. So definitely I will try to do this, and I hope that everyone will call the armed police forces in future. And you mentioned that this is a tough job which we are not prepared. The police force was never prepared to deal with them. Their preparation was to detect the crime, to investigate the crime and law and order, but not to face coronavirus pandemic. But you said Many people have lost their life, especially the police force as well as the armed police force, because armed police force was supposed to be trained to reach immediately without any delay. And once they reached, they were not prepared with their headgears and all other precautions. So many officers, even of the armed police forces, have lost their life, and which is really unfortunate. And even the civil police force have also lost many lives in different parts of India. And you hope that today's thing will definitely give a hope, and will definitely the police force will do their duties in a good spirit. Now I would like to go to our next guest. He is Mr. Shashi Shekhar Singh. Mr. Shashi Shekhar Singh is the Superintendent of Police, Lucknow, managing 112. 112 is a UP Police Emergency Management System, which includes management of 4,800 PRVs throughout the state for emergency services. It also includes the patrol management system, fuel management, event closure, and discipline, including vigilance of 35,000 employees. He is the visiting faculty to police academies, University of Lucknow, and Baba Saheb Bhimrao Ambedkar University, Lucknow. He has done MSc Chemistry from Lucknow University in 1992. He has done MBA in HR from IGNOU in 1998. He has also done PG Diploma in Foreign Affairs in 1995 and in Public Administration in 1996 from Lucknow University. He has written book Crime in India. He writes regularly articles in magazines and newspapers. His latest book, The Management of Police Station, is under publication. Welcome, Mr. Shashi Shekhar Singh, to our show. Mr. Singh, you have heard uh, our earlier panelist, Mr. Ajit Kulshrestha. He described and he says that the image of police has gone up. He said the crime rate has gone down. And he said many police people, as well as the armed police, lost their life, the life of many police officers and their police personnel because of this coronavirus pandemic. And he also mentioned that although the crime rate has gone down, but few people are coming out in the open with the protest or other activity which is increasing the coronavirus, which they should not do. Now, we would like to know the COVID-19 impact on law and order. Mr. Shashi Shekhar Singh, please.
Thank you, sir. And I say my good morning to all of the listeners and viewers here. As said earlier by our panelist, respected Sri Kulshrestha sir, police is a law enforcement agency, but we have never anticipated such type of pandemic in our work profile, job profile. But since we were put against such a huge pandemic and crisis, which has not been foreseen in our history, it was up to the police leadership, and particularly I trust and I say that our constabulary, which reacted so amazingly to this situation, and they proved that police is such a wonderful organization and institution, and it can be relied upon in any type of eventuality. As said by Mr. Lal also, that apart from medical services, it is the second most critical organization, critical service which is required in any society. So I will start with the understanding of the public order and how pandemic has created a new set of public order and how we have reacted to this new challenges. First of all, going through the concept of public order, there is a concept of public order that in the British legal system, which we have adopted also in India and other countries, that public order is absence of public disorder. What is the meaning of disorder? That when we are going to public place, we are behaving in an orderly manner. we are behaving orderly manner in our buses, tram, railway station, bus station, bazaar, hut, anywhere. May it be park, may it be any place where more than one people are gathered there, and how to behave in such situation. But unfortunately in India, public order has not been in our habit. We have faced a lot of problem in enforcing the public order, and that's why India has been known for non-obedience of small laws even. I will just quote one single example of traffic rules. India is one of the country which has highest disobedience of public at traffic laws. I will just give you one example of that. More than 1.5 lakh people die every year in road accident, and we charge more than 40 crore, the statistics of UP only, 40 crore as a penalty from the public who are violating the traffic rules. But even such type of enforcement has not been able to make people abide by the traffic rules. So in our country, it was very difficult challenge for police to follow and enforce the guidelines of lockdown. When it was announced by our Prime Minister on 24th March, and it was expected that we will go out of the pandemic crisis by the end of the first lockdown. But as the situation goes, we all know that this was insufficient, and we had to extend our lockdown period up to 31st of May. But even then, we had to open our lockdown in a phased manner. Few things were open and few things were again under the lockdown. What created this? Created such a huge problem of law enforcement. I will enumerate in following ways. First of all, when the second lockdown was announced, and that time it created a lot of problem to those people who are migrant workers, and they were working in big cities like Mumbai, Chennai, Delhi, or in Punjab, part of Chandigarh, and all other parts of the country. And basically they belongs to the poor state of eastern Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, even Bengal. And they tried to go back to their home. There was no other way around for them to survive without money, without work in their location. So there was a lockdown and people were trying to go to their home. At that time, it was a huge crisis of law and order. And as we know that at Mumbai VT, Victoria Terminal, there were more than 10,000 people gathered for a rumor that train are going to start for their respective railway stations. But this was a wrong information. There was no schedule of trains by the railway department. Likewise, as we saw at the Delhi UP border, at ISBT, there was a rumor that UP government has organized bus service for those workers who have been held in the Delhi to their respective district headquarters. But this was also a rumor only. So it was such a large alarming situation that people were gathering with their small children, infants also, their family, with their all belongings, whatever they had, and they were trying to go back to their respective homes. But neither our infrastructure nor the services were able to cope with that problem. So it created a lot of bad image for India also. All the international channels, they broadcasted again and again the situation of Indian migrant worker to their respective country. And it leads to bad image for our country. So there is a lesson from this situation. At the 112 Police Emergency Service Center at Lucknow, we received more than 74,000 calls for gathering of mob. We got more than 24,000 calls for transportation. We got more than 2 lakh call for food. We got more than 8,000 calls for medicines and so many calls for milk for the infant children's. So it was such a emotional trauma at our own
We have
center.
lost,
Is there any problem, sir? Mr. Lal Goyal, I am audible to you?
I think you are audible. You can continue, Mr. Singh.
Okay, sir.
I think you can continue.
I think channels are not listening. Mr. Goyal is missing from the.
Okay, you continue. You continue. In case if required, you can repeat it. Let there be
Okay,
no
sir.
vacuum between.
So I was talking about the enormous situation and the data which we have generated through this services. It was such a huge problem that even the government did not anticipate the situation for the food and the medicine and other services. So what we did at that time, in case of emergency, we constituted a fund, a Rahat fund, and we dispatched 2 lakhs food packet, more than 10,000 of medicine packet, more than 20,000 of water and other food articles, and we delivered it to at the doorstep of the people who were in need. This was one of the wonderful service of UP Police, which has no parallel in the history. We have seen the other states, other country also in Spain, in Italy, in UK, in United States. Police were doing wonderful job in ensuring the lockdown guidelines, but police was not going beyond their call of duty, and they are not providing food and medicine and other help to the needy people. Even our 4,500 strong fleet of vehicles, they were working as ambulances also. They took many seriously sick people to the hospitals. They took many to the L1 hospital of COVID corona. And we were the first to procure PPE kit for our police personnel. It was such a nice arrangement that apart from being a huge state in a population, only 45 people of our force got sick. They got infected by the corona COVID, and all of them are now well. So the challenges of the COVID were taken head on by the UP Police and 112, and we can say with huge satisfaction that we have been able to meet the challenges of COVID-19. But there is always a lot of lesson to be learned, and what we learned most that public cooperation for any huge challenge is very important. Police was able to do all this great job only because public was cooperating with us to the maximum. There was no complaint for the police, even if some of them went overboard enthusiastically and even they used the force also to ensure lockdown. But more or less, there was public cooperation and nobody criticized the action of police. What we can learn, the second thing is that we need to train our police personnel, particularly constabulary, so that they can meet the challenges of such variety and such uh, huge level. The level of the pandemic, the challenges were so high that for the first week we were unable to make program what to do, what not to do. The planning was very difficult, and the guidelines which were given by the government, they were also inconsistent for some time. There was a confusion at the top also and confusion at the bottom also. And it was changing after very, say, week or 15 days. So what I request, second thing is that our training should be robust. As Sri Kulshrestha said, that it should include the pandemic and also the disaster management course, how to deal with the disastrous situation like a pandemic. And also the third thing which I would like, that we have to build our resources in a better way. Police has got lot of resources, but a robust ERP is missing from the police management system. Since we are technologically driven organization, 112 was able to map all the resources and deploy to the maximum. We were able to perform at calculated level of 96% of our capacity. Our call taking, our dispatch of the PRV vehicles to the needy people, the caller in need or crisis, it all broke the record, and we were able to achieve the SLA level of 96%. This was not done even in our known legacy data. So, fourth thing, I would like to reiterate here that public should also be made aware of the guidelines and changing situation, and we should be able to use the media and the social media in much better way. For example, there were so many rumors, particularly in the beginning of the crisis, and that led to the attack on the police and paramedical and medical staff, which we saw in Indore, in Muradabad, Rampur, and other places of the country. It was because the lack of information about the disease, and people thought that if they will be taken away from their home to the quarantine center, they will not return back. Such stories, it led to the people to attack the medical givers and the police. And it was such a bad situation at that time that we, even at our emergency system, we were forced to deploy so many PRV vehicle to one place. So it was overutilization of our resources for a small thing. And I take a lesson that we should use the how to counter rumors regarding any situation, regarding any event or any sickness in the case of crisis. So as our other panelists said that Rapid Action Force had introduced a lot of training modules for pandemics, disaster, even the biological warfare and other chemical warfare. We should introduce to the civil police also, and we should tell how to do with this. And secondly, we should be able to create a robust social media interface at the police level so that we are able to disseminate the good information, the true information, which is the only antidote of the rumors. And secondly, we should be able to monitor the social media in much better way so that all the people who are spreading rumors, they can be caught in the nip only, and they should be put to the course of law. These are the my deliberation for the topic, and I hope that we will discuss something which is left in our question answer discussion session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Singh, for giving the details. And you have mentioned that yes, police was not ready for this, but you have also congratulated the constabulary. They said that how exemplary they have shown, and because this pandemic, which was unknown to everybody, even the police was not trained for this, but still they have done lots of good work. And you have mentioned that because you are manning the emergency number, and that's why you are getting so many calls, and especially when the migrant crisis started, which was started according to you with a wrong information circulated in the public, whether it was in Bombay, Mumbai, or in Delhi, and thousands people were there on either at the railway station or at the border with a wrong information. But in spite of that, when they started moving on foot, they have started calling in distress to the emergency number, and you have received many calls. Like you said, that about 74,000 calls for the mob gathering, 2 lakhs calls for the food, and many other calls. So it shows that how the police department actively worked during that time. And you have also mentioned that like Rapid Action Force is trained for many things. You want that similar type of training should also be given to the civil police, so that they should also be ready for the eventualities. And you said that we should also have the strong social media presence, so that whatsoever the truth we have to give, we should tell the public at large, because the social media is doing harm by giving false information or creating rumor. So for that, a check is also required, and he says whosoever is doing that, they should be punished by the law. So all these views which are kept by, and he has given lots of data which I'm sure is very useful for the public, because we, the civil society, should understand that police is working day and night. And in our earlier program, one of the panelists told me that for 70 days, many police person have not even taken a leave. They are continuously working for 16 hours, 18 hours, and whatnot. So we must appreciate the way they are doing, and for whom they are doing, for the benefit of us, the civil society, the public of India. And when they are doing it, we must cooperate, and we must follow the guidelines which the government is issuing or the police is issuing time to time. Now I would like to go to my guest. He's Mr. Kulshrestha. Mr. Kulshrestha, is CRPF playing a significant role in maintaining law and order during COVID time?
Yeah, definitely. Uh, See, civil police is normally they are responsible for their area. The number they have is normally committed. This pandemic has actually shaken up everybody. The forces, the CRPF is always given to the state police in aid as an additional extra qualified strong hands to the local police. They're deployed as per the requirement analysis, So instead of they are going and staying there as a reserve or to keep an eye or to control something, this time they were diverted for ensuring that the government orders are implemented, especially the lockdown, the traffic control, and other things. Here, I just like to add something. I do not want it to skip this discussion. Unfortunately, we Indians are not law-abiding to the heart. And I would like to share my experience of being in Japan. And I was, as a police officer, I was on a private visit, but I was interested to know more about the police. And to my surprise, the police station I visited had no crime report for last 5 years. Even then, the guys were sitting inside air-conditioned room with bulletproof jacket and helmet on their head, and their car, one motorcycle, one small moped, all were in idle running condition. Look at the preparedness and look at the public. I said, what is the reason, sir? He said, here public is law-abiding. You say this road is closed and you just put a threat. Nobody will dare, nobody will ask questions. In India, you keep telling there is nothing, the mechanism is not there. For coming out from home, they will find any media or any rumor, they will come out. Go back, they don't listen. So we have to work on that. For the time being, when you ask me this specific question, I come back to the specific thing. The CRP and other forces, CRP normally is in the internal security matters. The border security force, they have all ITBP. Whatever is available at the hands of the state government was utilized, especially RAF, and they have done their job very well. That's the reason they have undergone the risk and also suffered. And many of them are still undergoing treatment. So the force was used and we are meant for that. We will do that. Even if I know that this might have not come in media, many of my boys who were on leave, they have come out to help without putting uniform, because they are now totally patriotic and they know the others do not have that capability what they have. So I must congratulate all of my men, even when they were on leave in their own area or they were on the way, they have helped out the people. This is what they should do. And we feel proud of being their seniors and mentors at one point of time.
Thank you, Mr. Kulshrestha, for giving the details. And he says, yes, the Central Armed Forces supported to maintain the law and order, the civil police force, and because of that, many of the officers or the police persons have suffered, and they are either they lost their life or they are still suffering. And I remember in my earlier conference, one of the DIG of CRPF, he told me that more than 80 personals suffered initially, but they all recovered. And he said that they all are ready even to donate their plasma. So that is a spirit, that is the patriotism which is there in the armed forces or the civil police in India. And you have also mentioned that we are a very, we are not a ruly or we are unruly society, because he has given his example of a private visit into Japan police station, where he says there was not a single case for last 5 years. That is a very, very remarkable thing. But he said the more remarkable thing is that everyone sitting there wearing bulletproof jackets, helmets, the car, the moped or the motorcycle were in running condition for the any eventuality. Now, this is what we require in India. And he says, if somebody will put a flag on a road, the road is closed, nobody questions. Here, even if you close the roads with a barrier, people will try to take out the ways to cross that thing and come out from the homes without any reason, just to enjoy or just for disobey the orders. Now, I would like to go to Mr. Singh. Mr. Singh, has night curfew for last 4 months helped in maintaining law and order?
Definitely, sir. I will support this idea that night curfew for last 4 months have supported in the locking of those pandemic spread. And how it has been done, I will give you the example. For example, there were more than 170 cantonment area in New Delhi at the height of the crisis, and those areas were separated from other area, and it was so insulated that nobody can enter or exit from that lockdown cantonment zone. And therefore, people were confined to their areas, and particularly if they were confined at the night even. So it was checking spread for mathematically talking half of the time of the day. So at night, many people would roam around without any work, without any purpose, and they were just roaming around, enjoying their day or night. So it checked, and it stopped the spread of virus to a large extent. And also what it did secondly, that it maintained a sense of law abidance among the people, and it eased the burden on the police force at night time, so they were able to concentrate and get rejuvenated in the morning for their routine job.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Singh, for giving the details. And he said that yes, the night curfew has helped because the people were disciplined. They were not allowed to roam around here and there just to enjoy. As well as he mentioned, it eased the burden on the police because they were already on the roads from morning to night. And because of the night curfew, there was nobody except the police force on the road. So there was at ease for them. And he said that is one of the very good thing that there is night curfew. And I think now there is a media report that from 5th of August, this night curfew is going away. Anyway, now I am going to Mr. Kulshrestha. Mr. Kulshrestha, during COVID, the insurgency is in its low. Why?
Uh, 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 I'll tell you one thing. Insurgency is slowly going low. Otherwise, also, I don't think COVID has played any role in the directly or indirectly. The militancy now, with the grace of God, the work which we have done, which the public has done, the government has done, Northeast militancy has already been contained. I am lucky to have the personal first-hand experience of knowing about communism, spread Naxalism in Bengal. Then from 75 onward, I was there in Mizoram when Mizoram problem was there, the Nagaland problem, then Assam problem. So, I mean, like a CRP officer, I was there when the problem was there. Assam problem. So all these militancy, everything has been diluted, settled, and it is not otherwise growing its head. Punjab is almost settled. Kashmir, whatever is there, now we have a upper hand and we are trying to take the cancerous tentacles out, and God will be kind. Things will be very, very good up there. So on this question, my answer will be, I'm not going to link these two cousins together. Militancy is something else. The COVID has come quietly in our courtyard. This is my brief answer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kulshrestha. He says that it's insurgency or the militancy is already going down, and everything is under control. Earlier, only before the pre-COVID era, also because of the cooperation of public and the right policies of the government of India, and because he worked in all those insurgents area from 1975-76, so he has seen how the insurgency has gone down. So he says there is no linkage, or we can't say right now, although I feel that once the data will be available, then you will see, one can analyze more whether the insurgency has gone down drastically after the 24th of March, or is it the same it was before that. Now I would like to go to Mr. Singh. Mr. Singh, do you think migrants could be handled with more humanity?
Definitely, sir. I will definitely add to this thing that when the migrant situation and crisis started, government of India and state government reacted late. and they started Shramik special trains for them. But by then they had managed themselves. They walked up to 1,500 kilometers. There is a famous case of a girl, Jyoti, who took her father to 1,500 kilometer to Bihar on bicycle. And it was such an emotional crisis for us also. We helped all the migrant people who were on board of the truck or other vehicles which were not safe for journey. And it was just a matter of disgust for us that there was a big accident in UP at central UP near Kanpur, in which 24 people died on a spot and other 37 were injured. And they were ferrying into a truck which was loaded with the caustic soda, and many of them died because of the soda and not the accident. So it was a huge crisis. People moving on the highways, on other ways, and any sort of cycle, bicycle, tempo, jeep, and private buses, private transportation. And you will be surprised to note that they paid more than triple the amount of fare if we had been able to run the train and bus services by the government. So what it did, that they paid more money, they suffered during their journey, and many of them perished during the journey. According to one data, more than 100 migrant workers died during the journey and they met accident. Care, the child care and you, Kurai said that more than 159 workers died during the journey. But even government would have done better to ensure their safe passes to their villages and stay there. And what it did worst, that it spread pandemic to the village, and we could not put our infrastructure at village level in time because we could not manage their movement to the village. So the quarantine and other facilities which come up later, they were not in time. The tuning with the people coming and the infrastructure created there, they were mismatched and they were not in synchronization. So spread of the coronavirus disease into village rural India is largely because of the mismanagement of migrant laborer and their journey to their places back to home.
Thank you, Mr. Singh, for giving the details. And he said, according to him, yes, migrants could be handled with more humanity. He has given the examples how one girl, Jyoti, she traveled 1,500 kilometers on a bicycle with her father sitting, so that because he was not well, to take him to the village in Bihar. He also mentioned that if the timely trains were started or the transportation were provided, this type of problem would have not done. And secondly, he said that it was a mismanagement, and that's why the coronavirus has reached to the villages. Otherwise, it would have contained only in the big cities. So according to him, yes, I think in migrant, my personal view is we all failed, whether it's the government, central government, state government, civil society, everyone failed because we have not thought that this type they are also human beings. We should have given that human touch. Although many social workers, NGOs, and even police department tried their best to provide them food, provide them even the footwears, but it is not enough. After all, a human life is a human life, and according to him, more than 150 people lost their life. Now, my question is to Mr. Kulshrestha. Mr. Kulshes, there were media reports that there is a rift between CRPF and civil police or local police. Is this true?
I can't generalize this. The question is this: CRP within the country never ever works independent. We are always asked for and provided by the central government. The rift issue, I won't say that it had never been there. It had been there many times in Naxal area, sometime in Kashmir, sometime in other areas. The question then comes to, in totality, they are the force. One is strong, more capable, more strong, more organized, provided by the center, going to help out the local police, state police, which is not that good, to be very frank, or is not sufficient, or is not trained, or doesn't want to do that risky job. So many reasons, and they are provided. The coordination comes up to the level of either at DG to DG level, or the concerned then IG level, or it is individual matter and not the organization. Two good friends, and incidentally, many of them might have been the batchmates or senior junior in academy, in IPS academy. If they had been bad, then they are going to create problem here as well. They had never gone well with each other. So now these fellows are the reasons for. But the man, to be very frank, my hero is the man who is there to deliver. We all, anything from Havildar, small controller, to sub-inspector, to inspector, DSP, we are all people actually behind the screen, unless we are there with them in the ground. So everybody is a Sipahi. At his level, there had been never ever a problem. If there is a problem between two constables, they will manage better than we. We have our egos more than our capability. And in most of the cases, then sometime it becomes political also. When the state government wants to create problems, so we are used as a dirty tools by some time. That's the reason I say in India, we need a lot of bigger reforms as well. And you are the one who is starting it. Let it go. Let us build it together to make our country better and the world better.
Let our country better and the world better, says Mr. Kulshrest. And he has mentioned there is no rift at all in the organizations, whether it's a local police or the CRPF. But yes, it can be a personal equation between the two officers, whether it's a DG level or IG level, because they are the batchmates or some in the police academy, or sometimes some ego clash, but nothing to do with the constable level, Havildars level, and all those. And they are said that he also mentioned that because CRPF is trained for the eventualities, while the local police is there 24/7. So there is a definitely difference about the training and their mental setup. But according to him, there is nothing, and we require good reforms in police departments or the even the armed police department, so that there more coordination and more harmonious will be there. Thank you, Mr. Kulshest, for giving your frank views. Now I would like to go to Mr. Singh. Mr. Singh, do you think only one SOP is required in India? Because we have seen that all states have their different SOPs as far as the police department is concerned, even in the medical. Because in earlier our deliberations in the conference, one of the medical conference, they wanted that all the states, the entire country should have one SOP as far as the medical is concerned. Now, what about the police? Although the law and order or the police is a state subject, but don't you think that ultimately the enemy is one, that is the coronavirus, and the solution or the how to tackle the public or the coronavirus is also one. So why not one SOP instead that all states are issuing their own SOPs on trial and error method? Mr. Singh, please.
Very true, sir. I agree with you that there should be only one SOP for entire country, and I hope that more or less there is a one broad SOP only. And even we are following not one SOP in India, but I think that one SOP as issued by WHO is implemented throughout the world. So in detail, we should have one SOP. It should be issued by the government of India, and every state should follow it. There may be some local variation or local other infrastructure or the system based requirement that can be incorporated in that SOP, but more or less there is a need of single SOP. And what will it do? That it will remove confusion, it will remove rumors, it will help better coordination among different agencies. There are ultimately one constitution in India and one IPC and CRPC, which are the broadest law in India. So all the pandemics, all the other diseases or other eventualities, more or less they are covered under those things. And the pandemic law is as old as 1885. It is more than 100 years old, 130 years old law which we are enforcing right now. So it is enforced throughout the country. So we should have one SOP definitely for all the states. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. He also advocates that one SOP should be there for the country. He says that the law of the pandemic we are using of 1885, that is more than 130 years, and it is enforceable everywhere. But SOP should be one, like right now the WHO's guidelines are followed everywhere in the world. Similarly, we should have one SOP when we have one IPC and CRPC. We should also have one SOP, and that can be amended or added something depending on the local conditions, says Mr. Singh. Now I would like to go to Mr. Kulshrestha. Mr. Kulshrestha, according to you, what is the main reason for the improvement in police image during COVID?
This is, if you ask me, it is no direction issued by the state government or DG or any senior officer that this is the time to improve the image. It's a question of, if you ask me properly, except for few black sheeps, the police is always there. They are trained, now better trained, to treat everybody as a human being and respectable being. The occasions had not been there. At some places, now the question is this man, when he speaks politely, as I said, we are not basically hardcore obedient fellows. He has to use at least coercion by his body language, by his spoken language, and then he gets the wrath of what police is very dirty. Leave aside some corrupt fellows who are interested in something else or under some pressure. Basically, whether it's a CPO officer or a man or a constable of any state police, he knows that he is more capable, he is more powerful, and he is there to help. That face got an occasion this time. Now you see, if anything has happened, they rush, building collapse or some fire, something, they really help. It's a different thing that media might have not reached there, or somebody else took his hand up, look, this fellow has done a great job. This was, everybody was on the street to watch, in media, and everybody's there. So this was not a new thing which they did. They are very good. Honestly speaking, please trust me, barring some stray incidents, which maybe they are more in some way, like somebody in Haryana, his language is like that. A man coming from Karnataka or some other place will find offended with the way he's talking. But from inside, he's a better human being than normal man. And this has given an occasion for him to come out. He has done really good job, and so much of hard job, taking the risk, because at that time, he doesn't want what is country, what is my boss, what is my organization. He comes out as a more trained human being. He's more devoted than others. And they have done just job. That's what I said. Corona has exposed the true policing in India, and that is better. And I tell you one thing, it is a little more better than what public has been able to appreciate till now. We do not want any dirty situation to come. Let my man behave better. Let he be recognized by society better. And I said, we are still better.
Thank you, Mr. Kulshrestha, for giving a very good answer to my question. And according to you, that image of police is not improved. Rather, it was like this because of their training. They are always human being, rather better than a normal human. And they always do the helping hand. Their helping hand is always there, whether it was for a rescue in the fire or any building collapsing, etc. But the media or the society was not recognizing it properly. But this time, because everyone is on the road and the police is on the road, so their face has come in open. So it is not the rating has gone up, rather the perception in the public mind has changed because they have not seen the other side of policemen. And according to him, only the black sheeps, apart from the black sheeps, otherwise police persons are very, very committed, devoted, and very nice human being, and they are serving the nation with devotion. They are not waiting for the order from the DG or from their superiors. Rather, they are doing as a humanitarian ground their own, and they because for that they are trained. Thank you, Mr. Kulshrestha, for giving such a good reason, and you have given the very good answer that the public should know that it is not because of the COVID the image has gone up, but rather they are like this only. They are trained for this only. Now I would like to go for my last question.
Sir, if you permit,
yes,
Mr.
please,
Goyal,
please.
sir, I would like to add one thing
Yes.
in the answer given by Sri Kulshrestha, sir, that it was a chain reaction during the corona pandemic. Police has been remodeled as a corona warrior along with the medical people. Why it becomes so? I have made a study into that topic, and what it triggered that the appreciation of good work by the public for the first time, it given the increased social media attention. Social media attention encouraged policemen, common policemen like constables, head constables, sub inspectors to do even much better. And once they do better, it was given attention and space into mainstream media, again the social media, and the chain reaction started. So it was by the end of the April, it was huge coverage, media attention and social media space was given to police good work. And it triggered them a sense of satisfaction, a sense of achievement, a sense of heroism among the police personnel, particularly at bottom level. And as Sri Kulshrestha said that, it was not given any order by the DG of any state. It was not a leadership initiative, but it was initiative which developed intrinsically. I would like to give one example from Mathura. There was one old priest living with the 100% disabled daughter in a small room, and he died. It was reported to 112, and our two constables went there. When they saw there is no one to take care of the dead body, and the girl was crying there, she could not move. So they even performed the last rite of that fellow according to the Hindu last rite tradition, and took that girl to the one NGO where she is living today. And all the money is spent by them. When 112 headquarters asked them to take money reimburse, they said, no, sir, it was our moral duty to perform that thing. And we cannot take that money. Please, for God's sake, don't pressurize us to take the money as a reimbursement, which we have performed out of our own morality and good wishes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Singh, for adding a few things. He said It is because of the chain reaction. For the first time, the social media has started appreciating the works of the constables or the head constables or the sub-inspectors, the police department. And then the attention of main media, the national media is gone. They have started appreciating. And once that appreciation has come, then the police people, the personals, they felt very elite. They feel that yes, they have done something which has been appreciated for the first time for the public in such a large way. And that is one of the reason that now people are giving good rating and appreciating the police. And he has given the example of one person who died in Mathura, and his daughter, who is 100% handicapped, could not do anything. Once they received a call on the emergency police service, immediately the two constables rushed there. They found, and then they performed the last things of that person in the same tradition. Like he was a Hindu, so on a Hindu tradition. And they spent the money from their pocket. And when the police headquarters, the emergency headquarters wanted to pay the money, they said, sorry, we will not accept. This is our moral duty to do this thing. Now this shows the real color of police, which was never shown to us earlier. We always see a khaki wearing person just raising the batons or shouting in a foul language. But after all, for whom? For whose benefit they are raising the baton or using the foul language? For all of us, for our safety, for our security. Okay. Now I would like to ask Mr. Kulshrestha your suggestions to the government, if any, and advice to public.
Yeah, that is very relevant. What this was all the surgery and everything being done to find out what I have a small thing to refer about. I remember as a very small boy during 1962 war, we had borrowed the civilization, or it was given to us by Britishers, and we were not prepared for anything. I remember of something like civil defense was there, and the volunteers used to go around, and everybody was asked to make a trench in their home because of the aerial attacks. The blackout system was there. Those days there was nothing like social media, telephones were not there. Very rich fellows had the transistor with the license. If you recollect, there was a license you have to go and pay in the post office, otherwise you can't play radio. With that sort of vacuum between the intention of the government and response of the public, the civil defense fellows, the NCC fellows, the NSS was there, Swayam Sevaks were there. What I don't know, we have bigger government machinery on these issues. Nothing has been done, at least to my satisfaction. The government needs to revive them all. They are there. I don't know in what state of pickling or in what way they are lying. Whatever government wants, they depend on the media. It gives, or there is no other way out. All these things need to be revived. As far as the money is concerned, they are not your permanent employees. Don't worry about my red tapeism. My bureaucrats need not to worry. We have to only tuning up the wires which were already there. I will tell you one thing. I have some experience of SSB was there. There was a system of village volunteer force, because in the borders after the war, people were not knowing which country they belonged to. So they created in the SSB, then now Alag Shastra Seema Bal, Shastra Bal, and village volunteer force. You can have city volunteers force. You have the colonies, RAW. Everything needs to have a proper thing, that they should be either NCC trained or NSS trained or civil defense or what is that, scouts and bulbul, right from that. So public awareness. Now I've seen this disaster management, some ads are coming. The children are being taught how to handle in case of earthquake. Now parents cannot come. You can't refer to, you can't see it on the net. It comes within fraction of a second. If you react well, you survive. If you don't, you die. So all these things are there. I think the government at all level, probably new Shiksha Niti has come. Somebody may listen to me or somebody may say similar things, and we can have this. This brings in discipline. This, and every child who has done all these things as a trainee or as a volunteer or has actually worked should be given credit. It is done in all the developed countries. If you want to become Mr. X in that field, if you have worked, only then you get credit, and somewhere it is a prerequisite. Without that, you can't. Even in Harvard College, Harvard University, the students come to India to work in the field to get their credit. So this thing which we need at all level, it should be done. A DM can do. Even at police station, SHO, with the blessings of his seniors, can have the database of his area. He can have a constant communication because he is the first cell which reacts, the first capsule, what the cell, if you make the country is made of this, or for law and order, for anything disaster. So this is what is my suggestion. We have to revive it. And everybody should be given the credit of all the children. Now, the resources are no problem. When I go for recruitment, I find for 200 application, 51 lakh people have responded, 80,000 are coming. Can't they be part of such organization to come with the proof that they have done? I can recheck it. Secondly, each police station or unit should have, ideally with all privacy, right to privacy apart, or within that, the database, who is there in his area, within minutes, his good team can communicate with everybody to respond, provided we have done some SOP and some training. I would like to share, when I joined as a young officer, on Friday, there is a bigul and everybody is running out. What is that? I knew. It's a fire fighting training. It is done in army and in the CPOs and in other places. Literally every time there will be a firefighting practice and you will check as a matter of drill. Same thing we need to have for the civilian society in each organization, everything. You see these societies have come up, they have taken fire clearance, and today you go, I think 99.9% societies will fail in their machines will not work. Because we bring in, we follow the rules, we pay the money and everything is done, but we don't maintain. We have to maintain the society from top to the level up to the police station, I say, and this can be done without any problem. You need to have only one willingness and attitude. The rest can take care of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Rest can take care of, says Mr. Ajit Kulshrestha. And he suggested that earlier, when we used to have NSS, NCC, etc., all those organizations where the volunteers are there, government now should try to motivate them, bring them, and all the local police stations should have the list of those who can help during these types of pandemic. And he has given examples, and he said more training is required for the youngsters so that they can be useful in these types of situation. I'm sure that the government, with the new education policy and new policies which are coming, something will definitely come where the youngsters will be coming forward, which they have done. Many stories are there in the media where the youngsters have come to help others in this crisis also. Now, I would like to ask Mr. Singh. Mr. Singh, what are your suggestions to the government and advice to public?
Thank you, sir. First of all, our public policy making, this is to be scientifically modeled. Public policy making is a field which require more attention in India. We go on making policies which are not applicable at the bottom level, at the field level. And that's why we saw many violation and non-abidance of the law or the policy at the bottom level. And this create ultimately in the situation of anarchy or law and orderlessness. So we have to take care of better policy making, first of all. Secondly, when we are taking a big decision, like decision of lockdown on 24th of March this year, we should consult our social, economic, psychological, political consulting bodies like ICSSR in India, Indian Council of Social Studies and Research. They should have been consulted before announcement of the lockdown throughout the country, so that every segment of the society is taken care of. Every segment of the economic group should be taken care of. And even the psychological aspect, psychological burden should be taken care of. We did not we did not take care of the anxiety and frustration and fear among the people when we were announcing one guideline after another guideline. But had we been sensitive to these inputs from the psychologist, from the sociologist, from the economist, while making our guidelines, we would have been implemented lockdown in much better way. So I would like government to make public policy more transparent. It should be more consultative and democratic, and enforce and more infrastructure should be given at the bottom level, the thana level, the police station level. Our infrastructure should be made more robust, and our people at the bottom level should be more empowered. The more empowerment to the bottom level, executive level we will make, the more better result we will have. As Sri Kulse said, that the Thana level should have the list of the people who can be volunteer in the time of crisis or in time of emergency, right? Yes, we should have. And we should have also a channel of making call to them and taking help. How to channelize? We should have a SOP for their help, how to procure their help, how to map their resources, what kind of resources are available at a village level, and at that how we can gather that resources and sync with our need of the time. So I would like to give one suggestion to the government. Please consult your expert. We have a lot of institution, organization, study group in the field of public policy making. We should utilize their capacities for the benefit of the countrymen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Singh, for giving the suggestions that the policy making should be transparent and it should be with their consultation with the experts in their field. And he has also said that we should empower the thanas where we can create more better infrastructure and give more empowerment to them. And he says that if we will have all these things, then definitely we can have better control of the policing. And he also endorsed what Mr. Kulshe said about the SHO to have all the list of those volunteers who can come in during this type of emergency. So today you have seen the other side. You have seen the real things which have been said by the experts, by the persons who are in the field, those who have worked in this, and those who are seeing everything. And these are the views which we should understand, that we always think that the police is not doing anything. They are corrupt. They are only for the scalding the pupil or beating them. No, it is not like that. They are, and they also mentioned that it's not that this image has gone up because of COVID. No, they are like that only. We must respect them. After all, they are working day and night for whom? And they are from us only. They are not from, they have not come from anywhere else. And when they are from us, they are working to safeguard us in this condition, which for which they have never been trained, whether it is a arms police force or the local police force. They are working day and night, and they have shown how humanitarian ground they have worked. They have done so many things which in this short time we could not highlight. But yes, we can say our head bows down to them. We salute them, and we pray that our police not only 70%, it's 100% perfect, and they are doing very, very good job. So today's program of uh, media conference with Lal Goyal, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, Malnadu TV, News Gaon Se, and Samvad Sarokar News, as well as it was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. Please keep tuning us every day at 11 a.m. And tomorrow, again, we have a very packed program. We are going to have the program that is the COVID-19 impact on private colleges. As you all know, that because of the lockdown, all the colleges are closed. But what is the condition of the private colleges? So, and we have the panel tomorrow. The Mr. Dr. P. Subramania, he's the Vice Chancellor of Mangalore University. We have Dr. Ajay Tomar, ex-MLA, Secretary to Baroda College of Education, as well as Shri Sai Mahavidyalaya, Fatehpur Puthi, Bagpat. We have Mr. Shri Prakash Pandey, Advocate, Vice President, Self-Finance College Association, UP, and Chief Trustee, SPM Educational Trust, Gorakhpur. And we have Mr. Pankaj Malwar, Secretary, IIMT Group of Institutions, Aligarh. So please tune in tomorrow at 11 a.m. to listen and view what they say. Thank you very much, Mr. Ajit Kulshrestha, and thank you very much, Mr. Shashi Shekhar Singh, for joining us and giving your frank views in all aspects. I am sure that your views will definitely an eye-opener for the public at large, and definitely your suggestions will reach to the government, and they will see to it that those suggestions they will apply and they will take care of them. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you
Thank you.
all, viewers. Thank you.